Namaste, it's Soraya here, and I thought I'd shoot a little video today here in Australia. I've been contemplating something that one of my teachers used to say to me many years ago when I lived in the ashram. And he used to say to me, "Don't take it personally." And of course, if we're not conscious and someone says, "Don't take it personally," the individual separate ego self will take that very personally and have a reaction. Until I reached a point where I didn't take things personally, and I found that there was so much less suffering, that other people's comments are obviously coming from their state of consciousness, and it's their opinion only. And sometimes a comment can be helpful if we don't take it personally. It can help us to be more conscious and mindful of our own conversation, our own choices, our own actions. But if we take that to a whole nother level and we take it to the non-dual perspective, where the ego self is one way of living, but the non-dual is another way of living, where the individual separate self is no longer running the show, where there's a conscious awareness of awareness, where we can be aware of the play and the drama that's playing out on this worldly plane. We know we have this wonderful gift of the body and an opportunity to interact with humanity in this great drama, this opportunity to add something of benefit for humanity. To me now, what's being directed here is to assist others. And of course, whenever we're assisting others, we're assisting ourselves, because I am you and you are me, to remain as conscious as possible of living with consciousness of this non-dual reality, where what happens to one happens to the whole. And the more people, individuals, that melt away into oneness and are living from this perspective, then the consciousness globally will shift, and automatically then there will be less violence, less discord, less suffering. Because once we come from this non-dual perspective and we're not taking things personally as an individual separate self, and we understand that beyond the individual expressions in each separate human body and personality or character, but underlying that, the ground of being is one. And this is where we can all connect as one. So anything that is harming the individual self, when the individual separate self is running the show, we cannot tune in to this vibration, this consciousness of one that is the ground bed, the structure that underlies everything. Once we begin to stop taking things personally and come from this bed of being where we all meet as one, the individual would never choose to do harm to another, because they are harming themselves. Anything, any energetic harm that we project outward is harming the self, because ultimately all is the one ground of being. So not taking anything personally is understanding that ultimately there is no separate self. This is the illusion that we live with. It gives us an opportunity to dance, to play, to express. Consciousness is expressing as trees, as nature, as dancers, as singers, as cleaners, as builders. And all of that is just wonderful. We can be present with all of that and appreciate all of that, but not be attached to any particular outcome, not be attached to our individual separate self being better than or less than. There's no comparison anymore. There's no judgment. Everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And there is no taking it personally anymore. There is just a noticing that each individual character is expressing as they do. If we can take this into our relationship, this is such a wonderful thing. And beginning with mindfulness, initially, that pause. I talked in my last video about reactive behaviour. And if we can, before that individual separate self reacts from all our programming, from all our impressions, from all our beliefs and our judgments, if there can simply be a pause, notice the pattern that's reacting there, and then act from a place of one love, of harming another is harming myself, understanding that nothing is personal, seeing the one beingness, becoming aware of awareness itself. And from that perspective, it doesn't matter what happens, but yet everything counts. It's important that we choose wisely if we do not want to suffer. We don't choose wisely if we take everything personally and we come from a separate individual self that's suffering. We will continue to suffer. And when you see this, when we experience this, we can look back over our lives. Of course, that's just a story. But we can see that most suffering comes from seeing the other as separate to this. If we see all as one, there would never be an impetus or a movement towards harm. Namaste.